I used to get paid and the next thing I would have spent it all, not even on anything particularly lavish, but it would all go and I'd honestly wonder where it all went. And then I'd get a bill in the mail and I would be so stressed. And I used to think, oh, if I just made a bit more money, then all of my problems would go away. Like literally, I could just cover all my bills, the daycare payments, I could probably get a regular cleaner to come and help. You know, I'd have more money there for groceries and things like that. But the reality is, even if you make more money and you're just spending willy-nilly, you're just never gonna have enough there, because you're gonna look at your bank account and go, oh, this is how much I've got to spend on things, and then you just spend it on the things that you want or whatever, and then next thing you're going to be like, oh, I don't even know where all my money went. You know, we're smarter than you think, right? So even say if you make like $300 more per week or something like that, if you get a pay rise or you work more, in your head you're going to think, great, that's $300 extra money, and you're going to automatically allocate it to something. So you're going to be like, oh, I don't have to worry so much about lunches at work, so I can just buy lunches at work, I don't need to pack anything. You know, you might finally buy yourself that thing that you've been waiting for, or maybe you will spend more money on groceries. You know, you might start increasing how much you're spending per week on groceries, and then next thing you're going to have that same problem again where you're like, hang on a second, I'm making more money, like what is wrong with me? But the thing is, there's actually nothing wrong with you. And this is the thing, this is why 90% of lottery winners end up bankrupt, and not even like just wasting all their money and just going down to nothing and going broke, but literally bankrupt, like actually in a worse financial position than they were before they even won the money. 3 years ago, I still remember when I got a water bill in the mail and I said to Tom, I swear to God, my partner, I was like, I swear to God, I've already paid this. This is just crazy. These bills literally feel like they just keep coming at me. And he even said to me, are you sure that you've paid that? And I was like, I'm not stupid. I know how to pay a freaking bill, okay? But I didn't know what was coming, what was going. And I just thought that maybe if I just made a bit more money, or maybe if I waited until, you know, my kids were at daycare or whatever, then I could sort it out. But I found that I was still stuck in that same position all the time. So after doing a lot of work around my money mindset, which is a whole other thing, I've got a goal next year to save my first $10,000. Because the reality is, even if I went out and made millions of dollars, you need to be able to have a good relationship with money. You need to be able to hold on to money. Otherwise, you're just going to spend and spend and spend, like I said, and you're not going to feel any better. But what's going to actually make you feel better is creating a nest egg for yourself, or even just having money there that you can dip into when things are a little bit harder, or even just the feeling of having it sitting there. And apparently, right, life changes when you can save your first $10,000. Like once you get into the habit of being able to save that amount, then it's not very hard to go to 20,000 or 30,000. And then all of a sudden, it's literally like life changing. And then you have more power and more say in your own life. Then you can maybe take a couple months off work and not have to, you know, worry so much. And you can be like, oh, I want to spend more time with my kids, or, you know, I want to do something special for them, or even just having that more connection with them. Because at the end of the day, it's not really about money. It's actually about what money can give you back in return, and not even just like stuff, which is exactly why I wanted to make this video about what I'm not going to be buying next year. You know, like even for instance, this jacket, right? So I've had this jacket for 3 years now, and I am not planning on getting rid of it anytime soon. Like it's fine. It's perfectly fine the way it is. Like Alex Hormozi says, some of us just want to look rich, okay? And at the end of the day, that's not actually what wealth is. If you want to really grow wealth, you need to actually look at how much money you're able to hold. And at the end of the day, it's not about that. It's not about looking rich. You know, we need to get used to this feeling of really using things till they're loved, till they're really loved, and not having to like look around at what else we can spend and accumulate. And as a mum, I feel like this is just so important, because our kids are only little for so long. We only get that certain amount of time with them. And something that I've had to face with myself is that, you know, we didn't have to send my first baby to daycare till she was 2 years old, right? But then with our third one this year, I had to send her to daycare when she was just 5.5 months old, because I had nothing there. I had no money, no savings, nothing. I was literally, you know, living on paycheck to paycheck. So I had that maternity leave from the government. When that ran out, it was just game on. Like I just had to get back to work and everything. I was still living off, you know, no sleep. She was still going through the 4-month sleep regression. It was just honestly insane. This has been one of the most horrible years of my life. And now I've learned the hard way. Well, that's because I need to start getting better at holding the money. So that's why next year I'm so determined not to spend my money on these things that I'm going to go through in this video. This year I honestly felt the most burnt out that I've felt in my life. And I mean, in some ways it has been good. Like it helped me develop some strategies and things like that. It's like been life-changing in that way of like helping me learn how to manage the home, manage my own mind, things like that. And if you are feeling burnt out, I've actually put it in a PDF that you can get in the description below, and that'll be really useful for you if you're feeling the same way. You just feel like every single day, every week, you're just chasing your tail and things just feel really hard. You feel flat and like you don't have much energy. That's just how I used to feel all the time in motherhood. And I thought it was just mum life. And I was like, this is just the way it is. But actually, there's so many things you could be doing in your day-to-day that could be making your life so much easier where you don't feel that anymore. And yeah, of course, it's still very busy and it is hard work being a mum, but you're just not going to have that same feeling of burnout there. Anyway, but check that out if you want to have a look at it. Okay, now the first thing that I don't want to spend my money on anymore is Afterpay. And this was a little bit hard for me to grasp a little bit. I know that that's not an actual product that I'm not spending my money on, but I just mean even just in general, I'm not going to have it there as something to rely on. I have, let my limit be just $100 because I thought, okay, whenever the kids get sick and need antibiotics, it usually ends up being $50 to $100 where I have to go to the chemist and whatever else. So I thought, okay, I'm just going to leave it there as a little backup for now, but I'm not going to let myself just put Kmart on it. I'm not going to let myself get things online shopping. Like I'm not going to do any of that stuff with Afterpay because oh my gosh, like I was all of a sudden this year, I was having to pay so much to Afterpay every fortnight. And I was like, firstly, I can't believe, like I'm shook by myself that I'm even able to make these payments. Like I didn't even think that I had $100 or $200 there a fortnight just to spend on Afterpay. But I shook myself and I was able to do it. And I thought, you know what? If I wasn't spending money on Afterpay, I could be spending it on other things. Like I could actually be paying off bills. We almost got our electricity disconnected the other week. And I thought, you know what? It's because I was spending so much money every week, every fortnight on freaking Afterpay, honestly. And the thing is with Afterpay, see, I started like looking into it. And why it gets us is because, see, Afterpay helps retailers close their sales with a 30% increase, right? I hope that makes sense. But like, so 30% more sales get closed for retailers than before if they didn't have Afterpay. What that essentially means, if you flip it around, is that we as consumers are spending 30% more, and it's money that we wouldn't spend otherwise. So say something's $100, right? If you see like, oh, $25 a fortnight, it's like nothing. It's like $12 a week. That's $10, nothing, right? That's how our heads think about it. That's how I think about it. But actually, that's money that we wouldn't have spent otherwise if it was just the $100. We're doing like, oh, $100 is way too much. Like I'm not, or it's just too much right now. Like it's too much this pay or whatever. And so I had to really look at that and go, hang on a second. I am paying 30% more than what I would have if I didn't have Afterpay, if that makes sense. And so I realized like, crap, okay, I've got to get rid of this Afterpay thing, because I also realized it would just be better for me to spend the $25 or $50 or whatever it is at Kmart or $60, whatever, just outright. That would actually be better for me to do that once a week or once a fortnight than catching up and paying off these like $100, $200 Afterpay payments. Like it was honestly getting ridiculous. And it's like a slow thing that can happen, because at first I wasn't even relying on Afterpay and I was pretty good with it, and I would just have Afterpay as a backup if I like ran my money down to zero, and then I was like, okay, I just need to get this thing this week, like this kid's birthday present or whatever. But then I started realizing actually it would have been better if I just paid the $20, because now all of a sudden I've got 4 or 5 things in there in my Afterpay that are all from Kmart, and now they're totaling to like $60 or $70. It would have just been better for me to spend that $20 and just like face the fact. All of a sudden the things that I was spending wouldn't be as much. Like I would start making decisions better and going, hang on, I'm actually not going to spend that this week because I don't actually need it. The other thing that was happening to me was I was getting things, and then after a couple of weeks or a couple of months I was like, wait, this isn't even useful to me. Like downstairs, right, I had this bamboo storage thing because for so long the girls were, I don't know, we have 2 stories, okay, and downstairs they usually like to get dressed, but their bedrooms are upstairs. And so it just wasn't practical to be like up and down the stairs with toddlers. They're so indecisive about getting dressed and they're hard to get dressed anyway. And so, having their clothes upstairs just wasn't a good idea. And so now I store all of their older clothes up there, but I just have this little like thing downstairs where I keep all of their stuff. Anyway, but at first I bought this bamboo thing because it was a bit cheaper. It was like $60 on Amazon. And I was like, right, it was ugly or whatever, but it was something that I could just hang the clothes on. But then I realized, hang on, why don't I just spend $100 or $150 and get a proper wardrobe and like keep it downstairs? So it's like a downstairs entranceway wardrobe thingy. And then I realized this bamboo thing just wasn't even useful. And so instead of me going like, okay, I'm actually just going to set money aside and buy something that I actually am going to use, is going to look better, is going to last longer, is like more practical, all of the things. Instead, I bought this cheapy thing that now is just in the garage, just waiting to be thrown out. Because I was like, oh, I'll just put on my Afterpay, even though, anyway, I don't think Amazon has Afterpay, but it's just an example of like how, you know, I was spending things being like, oh yeah, I can afford it. But then a couple of months later, because I haven't actually like thought about it properly and sat on it and slept on the decision and stuff for a couple of weeks, I was just buying things and then I was like, oh, I didn't even really need to spend the money on that. Like that was just silly. That's why I'm not doing Afterpay anymore. Like it's gone for me. I'm not doing it. I would rather just spend the $20 outright, honestly. The thing is, we say that we're in a cost of living crisis, and I know I'm going to sound like the avocado guy when he was like, you know, you shouldn't be spending all your money on avocado toast. Instead, you could be, you know, saving for a deposit for a house. I'm going to sound like that now by saying, yeah, I know we're living in a cost of living crisis, and we all, you know, talk about that and wave our arms around and go, oh my God, I can't afford these things. We live in cost of living crisis. And I bet there's people that are going to get angry at me in the comments. But anyway, I'm just going to say it. And I personally believe though, we're spending too much money though. We're actually not doing, like we keep saying how much harder it is these days, but there's so many more options out there with clothes, with drink bottles, with all of these things, like even with groceries and stuff. There's so many more options for what we can be eating. Like honestly, if you talk to your grandparents or whoever, like I still remember my step grandfather always saying every Christmas, he'd be like, I used to get a banana for Christmas, my Christmas present. Like that would be my Christmas present. You know, and everybody has heard of the grandma who just, oh, you know, you've got a rag on your back, like you're fine. Like you don't need any new clothes, and they just stitch it up if there's a hole. I remember my stepmom as well. She used to say every night she was eating the same thing. She'd just have either sausages or chops with, you know, peas and carrots and mash. And that was literally what she would eat every single day while she was growing up. And these days, I think we do often throw around this thing of like, oh, cost of living crisis, but then we all have phones, we all have very expensive, you know, payment plans and everything, and then we spend a heap on Afterpay, and we spend a lot at Kmart getting these little things that we think are cheap, and yeah, they are cheap, but next thing it's like $100, $200 spent on Kmart. Look, I know, okay, I am a mum of 3. I had parents that were not, you know, super well off growing up. Like my dad kind of was. I got to see both sides. I got to see my mom, and then I got to see my dad's side of things. I don't know. And like everybody has their story, I know. But I just think that we throw that around a lot, but then at the same time, we do spend a lot of money. So I just think that we need to just be cautious of that and be like, no, but I do have more power in this than I think. And so next year, what I want to avoid is the lifestyle creep. Next thing that I don't want to spend my money on is something I touched on before, which is clothes. So for me, I've been, you know, pregnant. I've had 3 kids in the last 5 years. So I've been in and out of pregnancy. I've been pregnant every year for the last 6 years. Like I have a lot of maternity clothes. I have jeans that, you know, I only wore a couple of times and then got pregnant, couldn't fit into, all of those kinds of things in different seasons and stuff. And so just for me personally, I'm not going to spend money on clothes. I have plenty of jeans that I haven't really worn much, leggings, jackets, even tops and things. Also jumpers and stuff like that. Like I've got a few White Fox jumpers. So for me, I really barely need any new clothes, even just for 1 year. And this is what I was saying earlier with Alex Hormozy saying, some of you guys just want to look rich. Well, I am prepared to have a year where I'm living basic. Like I'm just living in the jeans that I've bought in the last few years, whether they're flare or whatever, I don't care. Like I'm not going to try to keep up with the trends. I'm just going to wear things that are comfortable, things that I haven't really got to wear much in recent years. And even if you haven't been pregnant or you haven't had the same situation as me where you might have a bit of a wardrobe there, you could even just plan that. You could just have a capsule wardrobe. It's like that thing when you go through your wardrobe and you get to the back of it and you're like, oh my God, I forgot this top's here or this jacket's here or whatever. This is what can happen. And so even if we just go through our wardrobe a little bit more often and just pull things out from the back and go, actually, I do have enough pajamas, or I don't know, whatever. Unless something's actually ripped or it's something for work that I need, then that's fine. So the next one is lunch at work. So I have a little story to go with this. I really wasn't good at packing lunch at work. And I was one of those people, I was like, you know what? I've worked today. I'm going to make $200 or $250. What's 10 bucks on sushi? Because we have a little sushi place next to where I work. Anyway, and I used to spend a lot on, lunch at work. And look, I mean, one side of it is, yeah, it does add up. It's like 20 bucks a day or 10 bucks a day is $50 to $100 a week. Okay. And that right there is your electricity bill. Okay. But it's also this. Okay. So let me just demonstrate for you. So when I started working at the hospital, I really was not good at packing my own lunch, but everybody did used to like pack their lunch. It was almost like a work culture thing. I was like, righto, I should actually get in the habit of that. Like that'll help me save a bit more money. This one morning, I remember looking in the fridge and we didn't have much food left. It was like towards the end of our week or whatever. And then I was like, oh, I've only got cheese and tomato to put in a sandwich. And so I was like, you know what? I'm not even going to bother. Like, that's just silly. I'll just go and buy something from the hospital cafe. Anyway, I went to the hospital cafe and no joke, they only had one sandwich left and they've usually got like nice things like, curried eggs and lettuce and stuff like that, or like chicken and lettuce. I looked at the thing and I was like, oh my God, the only sandwich they've got left is cheese and tomato. And I was like, I could have saved $7.50 that I'm now paying for this dumb sandwich, and I could have just packed that for what would be worth 30 cents or something if I just brought it from home. And so from that moment, I was like, nah, this is just getting ridiculous. Unless I'm having a particularly bad week and I want to treat myself or whatever and just do it once a week or once a month. No, I'm just not doing it. It's just, I would be happy now to just use the toasty thing and just have a cheese and tomato toasty and just pack some shapes or something like that. Honestly, I'm so happy to do that now. And I've really gotten into the habit this year of even just packing little freezer lunches and stuff from our leftovers at home. And honestly, it's great. It's so great. Another thing I'm not going to spend money on is coffee. Again, I'm going to sound like the avocado toast guy. We've got this cafe culture. And I'm not being biased or anything, but Australia has really good coffee, okay? We have really nice coffee here. We just get the froth right. It's nice and glossy on the top. I love a good cappuccino. Oh, I do. I love coffee. I honestly love it, but I'm not gonna spend $5.50 on freaking coffee. I'm now in the habit of having my Keep cup, and I actually bought a Keep cup that I love. It's not just any old Keep cup. I looked around, I shopped around, I bought something I like the feel of. I bought one that actually keeps the coffee hot. I didn't just buy any old whatever. I actually bought a good quality one. I think it's Avanti or maybe the other brand. I can't remember now. But now I'm just in the habit of packing my own coffee. I just bring my own coffee. Again, it adds up. Say it's like $5 a day in a week. If you're doing that 5 times a week, minimum, that's $25. That right there is Disney Plus, Netflix, I don't know, even in a month, that's $100. That's my petrol. That is literally my petrol right there. Again, it's the same as the lunch at work thing. Maybe if I'm having a really rough week, maybe if I hadn't slept much with the baby and then I'm going to work the next day or whatever, maybe I'll buy myself a coffee, okay? I'll just get out some coins and buy it. But I'm not gonna make it a regular thing. It's gonna be a treat now. The next thing is toys. So I kind of went through this, well, I did a lot in depth in my last video, but I'm not gonna keep spending money on toys because honestly, I have 3 girls. They have plenty of toys. That's my mum voice coming out. But yes, seriously, they have plenty of toys. We have a cupboard downstairs that's chock-a-block full. And you know what's crazy is that their attention span is so short. Even the other day, they got gifted these 2 little toys from a family member. Somebody that was catching up with them was like, oh, we went to the markets and we'll get you guys these little fluffy toys that like Yap or whatever, these little dog things. Anyway, and the girls were obsessed, they were loving them. Literally the next day, Molly was so off her fluffy toy. I don't know what it was. I don't know if it's her emotions or what. She was just like, I don't really like it. And then Stevie got a bunny, the same thing, but a bunny. She said the same thing. She's like, oh, I don't really like my bunny now. I honestly was just like, this is exactly why, Exhibit A, this is why I'm not buying toys anymore. You guys' attention span is so short. Or I don't know if it's just that we get sucked in with consumerism or, we always want new shiny things. Whatever. I don't even care. They get over them so quickly. I'm not getting toys for them. Me personally, I'm not buying them toys. They get plenty for their birthdays, plenty for Christmas. They've already got stuff. They've got so many things that they can pull out and play with. They've got blocks, they've got Magna-Tiles, they've got all these things. At the end of the day, and again, I went into this in detail in my last video, creativity is the best thing for kids. And this even could mean something like building something with blocks or Lego or whatever. But they don't need more toys. They don't need more of these Barbies and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, maybe sometimes it is nice, like I said, at Christmas Christmas to get these things, or maybe randomly relatives can get them things. But me personally, when I'm trying to save up for my $10,000 next year for a nest egg, I am going to be focusing way more on that, because a toy today could be, I don't know, like maybe their formal dress in 10 years. Seriously, that is how my mind is thinking as a mum now. I'm like, in 10 years time, my oldest is going to be 15. She's going to be hanging out with her friends. She's going to be maybe going on, you know, school camps and trips and things. She's going to need new school shoes. She's going to need stuff that's so super important. And yeah, I could just be living hand to mouth and meeting up, like keeping up with her needs at the time. But honestly, I'm putting my foot down and saying no. Like, no, I'm not going to be doing that. I'm going to make sure there is money there for those times, so that later in 5-10 years, I can get those things for her and it's not a big deal. I'm not spending my money on coffees and all this food and stuff like that at work. Instead, now I've put money aside. There's plenty of money there that I can reach into. Plus, I'm just out of the habit of spending my money on these things that I don't really need at the time. And this isn't even something that I've come up with myself. I don't know if you guys have heard of The Barefoot Investor, but it's by this Australian author. And yeah, it's really interesting. And he says you've got to think in 5 years time. So like, will this item that I'm buying today be something that I still care about in 5 years time? And yeah, I feel like maybe take that with a grain of salt a little bit, because of course, like, you know, I got my phone, like that's something that I'm going to need to upgrade within a couple of years, not 5 years. But okay, maybe I could argue that right now, this phone is going to make a difference to my life in 5 years time, because it will be a tool that I will have used and I will have taken photos and stuff like that. And, you know, it allows me to communicate with my partner well. And, you know, I've got apps on my phone that make my life easier and smoother now. So yes, it is actually going to be something that's benefiting me in 5 years time. Whereas something like, I don't know, an expensive nappy bag or something like that, which is a whole other, I should go into that as well, but I'm not going to spend my money on that, because in 5 years time, I'm not going to need that. So I'm happy to get a pretty cheapy, just stock standard one right now, because, you know, it's, as I keep saying, it's not a value of mine to look rich right now. Like, honestly, I'm just happy with, you know, anything that's practical, looks nice, and just is simple, honestly. Okay, so the last thing that I'm not going to spend money on next year is crockery. So this is like knives, forks, plates, bowls, all those things, cups. I'm not going to spend any money on them. All of our forks and everything at the moment are completely jumbled up. Nothing matches. All of our bowls and everything are the same. We've just got things that we've like brought from, like, I don't know, I think a lot of our plates and stuff are actually from our old share accommodation places, and we've just accumulated this stuff. Nothing really matches. We've got old schooner glasses that we drink from and that. But honestly, at the moment, I don't care. Like, it is not in my interest to have this fancy looking, nice, perfect whatever home. Half of our stuff gets broken anyway with our girls, and even if we do have plastic things that last, well, there you go. That is the purpose, that they last. It's not in my interest to go and buy cute things. And yeah, it is hard. Like, there are temptations. Like, even at the moment, there's these really cute, you know, cups from Kmart where they've got like strawberries and lemons and stuff on them. But yeah, even that, like, why not request that for a present for Christmas? Like, that would make a really nice gift from somebody. And so it's like, why don't we, instead of thinking, oh, you know, I want these nice things and blah, 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 which is so bloody tempting in this consumerism society we live in, it's like, no, actually, that $10 to $12 or whatever, that actually is something that I would rather have sitting in my account. That is just so much more empowering, being able to like hold that money. I've also thought as well, because my girls are little right now, and yeah, half our shit gets broken and I don't know, nothing matches and whatever, and our house is always bloody trash. Towards the end of my 30s, my late 30s and into my 40s, that's when I'm going to be able to enjoy that time. When I'm like, right, now I'm going to get rid of all of the share accommodation stuff we've got, going to clear out these old forks and these things that I don't really like. I'm going to donate them, whatever. Now this is a good time for us to actually invest in some really nice crockery, some really nice stuff that we can have in our kitchen. I know that this video went a little bit more in depth than I actually thought I was going to initially. But yeah, if you're someone that's interested in this, please let me know in the comments. I'd love to connect with you and talk to you about this stuff, because I don't know, it's just been such a big turning point for me. And I'm really excited next year to save my first $10,000. I feel like we need to do this as women. We need to do this as mums and become more empowered with our money and like be able to hold onto our money anymore, and say no, because money is what gives us options. And if you want to hear more about what I've got to say about that, you can check it out in my video that I posted last week. And yeah, just remember to, if you are a mum who's feeling burnt out at the moment, please have a look at the PDF that I've got in the description below. It's completely free to download, and I put it together because I know that feeling when you're a mum and you feel completely swamped, snowed under. You feel like mum life is just caving in on you and you don't know what to do. Like, it's just, you're just feeling like this is just too much. But yeah, I'll talk to you in the next video. Bye.